All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. This is a late night interview share. I did this interview a while back, but I didn't publish it on this side, on this platform. So what I want to do is share with you guys a very good interview I did with one of my favorites growing up. Some of you that are old enough remember her from the show Good Times. Her name is Thelma, or well, her name is Bernadette Stanis, but her TV name was Thelma. So if you remember who she is put a one in the chat. Put a one in the chat. I know it's late. I know it's late, but I wanted to share this with you guys. Okay, hold on a second here. Just found this in the archives. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Um, very, very kind, sweet person, and someone that I watched as a young adult, probably as a child. I don't know. Go back, yeah, but she had wrote a book and did a play here in Atlanta some time ago, and I was one of the first ones who had the opportunity to interview her. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring up the interview. Stand by, guys. It's one part of the interview. It's not the full interview, but it's a part of it. And we're going to drop this here, take this out, and we are going to roll the tape. Let's go.
And it will be at the Rialto Theater. And I want everyone to come out and support. We're going to have a fun night. Although we're going to talk about Alzheimer's, we're going to have a fun night. We start out with the purple carpet because purple is the color for Alzheimer's. We walk the purple carpet, then we snap cars with me and all my celebrity friends. And then we go into the VIP and we eat and we drink and we be merry. And then we take a little time and go into the theater and we talk about Alzheimer's, the serious part. We share that with our community because we are twice as likely to get Alzheimer's than any other nationality. It's awful, and we talk about the devastation of this disease. And I was the caregiver for 8 years for my mother, and I talk about caregiving. We will have T-Pain's mom talking about caregiving because she does have caregiving 911, and that falls right into what we're talking about. So it's going to be a wonderful evening of sharing and education and making aware of this awful disease. Then I go backstage and I dress up and I come back and I do the play Willie and Esther. It is funny. I'm telling you. Willie and Esther. Okay, I'll just say this: they call themselves black collar peoples. Yes, she's a beautician. She does hair. He boxes vegetables and fruit, so he knows produce. He's a producer. That's kind of like where they are. Anyway, it takes place in Los Angeles, and they're on the corner because Esther goes into the bank to try to get a loan for her car, and she doesn't get it. So they're fantasizing, well, at least Willie is. He's fantasizing about taking the bank. Can you believe that? So you got to come and see if they do or they don't. Well, I've been doing stage plays forever. But the one with Willie and Esther, that was off Broadway for 8 months. We went there to do it for 5 weeks and ended up staying for 8 months. And that was in 92. So it's been a long time. And it was a very, very known play in New York, a famous play in New York, and we decided to do it again on the road. Well, I've written two books, and I'm working on my third book, which is called The Last Night, A Caregiver's Journey. That'll be out this summer. The first book that I wrote, though, is this one, Situations 101, Relationships, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I think a lot of people have, they've gotten this book. If not, I still sell it. It's one of my number one sellers, and it's about relationships. I did 101 different situations and my responses to them. I was on The View in 2011. My friend Sherry Shepard made sure of that. And we always laugh about this book. It has some good stuff in it. They are experiences that others have shared with me because I have been like a counselor for many years, and I've talked about relationships to men, women, and I've given very good advice because I love psychology. But what made me write this book is when one person was talking about this one dude for like 3 years. She just wasn't getting it. So I decided to tell her this. I'm going to write something up for you to put on your refrigerator so that you don't have to call me at 3 in the morning when he doesn't answer the phone after you've called him 15 times. You know? Anyway, I started writing this to her, and I ended up writing a book. So, I always say God is in the mix of all this stuff. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And once you read it, you'll understand it. It is really interesting. And you know what? I'm fair. I talk. If the woman is wrong, I'll say it. If the man is wrong, I'll say it. So I'm not biased by any means. No. That's right. It's very balanced. Also, when I was traveling with the other book on relationships, I came across a lot of people in relationships that were dealing with money issues. How to handle their money together, separately. Also, young children, young adults in college about having like credit cards and maxing them out and letting their credit go bad, and so therefore they're stuck for like 7 years. So I talk about that and how to like watch the loopholes, also sandbags, like how something's leaking in your finances, you have to close those gaps in order to keep your money. And I talk about all kind of different relationships in here, about relationships with money. Well, I wouldn't say it has to be the precursor to a good relationship, because you can love somebody with money or without money. But I do say that money comes in, it's a factor. And if someone is not contributing to the cause, you can get resentful. That can start problems in a relationship. Someone asked me today, do I think that you should have a joint account with your partner? I would say if you're living together and you're married, I think you should have a joint account together, because you have things that you have to do for the home. You have to do things for each other, and maybe if you have children, you have to do things for your children. But I do believe that each person should have their own bank account. He should have his, and she should have hers. So it should be yours, mine, and ours. Well, that's different, because they're celebrities and their dynamics are different. But on the average, regular, everyday people, I think that there are more divorces because it's easier to get a divorce. It's just a matter of a decision now. I mean, years ago, people had pride in making their relationships work, staying married because of their children. Now it's so accepted. If you want to get a divorce, okay, fine, get a divorce. I mean, there is no stigma to it. So therefore, it's like, okay, I don't want to be married anymore. Why? Because I just don't want to be. I met somebody else and I want to. Well, if that's the case, maybe you shouldn't have gotten married in the first place. Okay, because you have children now, and you can flip that quick. It's not for real. So I would think that these days you should really study the situation and take your time before you jump into a marriage and jump out of one, especially if you have children, because the children always suffer. Well, it's really funny that you would talk about reality television. My father always said Good Times was the first reality TV because it was very real to life. And Esther wanted it that way. Esther Roll wanted it that way. And I'm glad that we did do it that way, because now you have a show that had a lot of depth, a lot of issues that we dealt with, very real to so many people. And it lasts 40 years later. It's still a hot show. I have my audience span from 70s to 7. And it's amazing because Good Times is still holding its own. And I'd say that because it was well written, it was well thought out. We had an incredible woman holding the reign there, and that was Esther Roll. And I give her a lot of credit for this show lasting 40 years. A lot of times you look at the reality shows these days, and a lot of them are just, they want to get on television, so they get on television. I'm not knocking anything. I mean, if it works for you, it works for you, They don't last, unfortunately, because after you've exposed who you are and all your private things, you're not interesting anymore to the producers or whatever have you, and they want to get rid of you and start another reality show. So understand that the celebrityism will last for a while, but I don't know if it'll last forever, because a lot of people are just using their personality and they're not using their skills, which are like acting and singing or whatever they have. So I would say that it's short-lived, although it's many of them. There are many of them, but I don't know if it's going to last for 40 years. What's so funny? I never looked at it like that. I didn't even know I was the sex symbol. I swear I did not know. As I started touring the world and, touring everywhere, people would tell me that. Guys would say, "Do you know I loved you and you were my girlfriend?" And girls would come to me, "My brother loved you." So I learned that way. Because back then it wasn't social media. We couldn't connect with our fans. They would have to send us fan mails, written letters. And on the show, they always controlled our mail.
I remember a time where I had a write-on magazine and you tore the pages out when they just scratched. Cynthia Horner was with all
Right.
Tore the pages out right there. My sister would fight for Jimmy Walker's business and I would fight for
That's right, baby. Fight for my pictures.
older than me, so she usually won.
She won. Oh man.
You be on the back of
Oh, I tell you. But those were wonderful days. I had a lot of fun back then too. I did. I got along. I got along with everybody. I loved all of them. I was very, very close to Esther Roll. I was close to JJ and I was close to Michael. John too. I got along with everybody. Oh, she was such an adorable child, really. Very mannerly, not spoiled at all. Took care of everything, always knew her lines, she was very obedient, wonderful. Michael was wonderful too. I would just say I love hip hop, I love it too. The only thing I would like to see them do is respect the ladies a little bit more and do your rhymes where it shows respect and it raises us a little bit, because little kids know your rap and it's nice for them to say positive things. Let them look at us as positive. We need to uplift our whole community. That's all I would say.